Are there any other positive effects that video games could have on a person who's playing? Unique study on Red Dead Redemption 2 shows how video games can make us care about animals. The team behind the study argues that games are, quote, underexplored and underused as methods of teaching, and that ecologists and conservationists should start taking titles such as Red Dead Redemption 2, a game that sold over 37 million copies to date, more seriously when it comes to increasing awareness about the natural world. Hello fellow travelers and welcome to the Hard Light Network. So in my last video, we reviewed a study that showed a positive correlation between the effect of video games and IQ. And while there is some promising information in that article, it seems to be that there needs to be a little more research done on the topic before we run away with any conclusions. But that got me thinking, are there any other positive effects that video games could have on a person who's playing? And as luck would have it, it turns out that there probably are. But before we get into today's article, guys, I wanted to ask you to hit that like button, subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the content that I've got coming up for you guys in the future. And also, don't forget, before you leave this video, to take to the comment section down below with your thoughts on today's subject. I really can't tell you how much I appreciate you guys' support, and your help goes a long way to spreading these videos in the algorithm to bring content like this to gamers like you. With all that being said, if you wanted to go the extra mile, there is a super thanks option down below, and of course, let's get into today's article. And as always guys, today's article comes to us from ScienceAlert.com and is entitled, Unique Study on Red Dead Redemption 2 Shows How Video Games Can Make Us Care About Animals. The hugely successful Red Dead Redemption 2, RDR2 video game puts you in a vast, open-world American West setting at the very end of the 19th century. Players can loot trains, shoot rival gang members, steal horses, and, it turns out, learn a lot about nature too. Researchers surveyed 586 volunteers from 55 different countries, 444 of whom had played Red Dead Redemption 2, and found out that with those experience of the game were better at identifying real-life animals shown to them in photos. It's most likely down to the 200 or so real species of animals that are authentically rendered in Red Dead Redemption 2. They can all be interacted with and hunted, and they all act in similar ways to how they would in the wild. Quote, the level of detail in Red Dead Redemption 2 is famously high, and that's certainly the case in terms of animals, says environmental social scientist and anthrozoologist Sarah Crowley from the University of Exeter in the UK. Quote, many of the animals not only look and behave realistically, but interact with each other. Possums play dead, bears bluff charge, and eagles hunt snakes. For the study, participants had to identify 15 real species featured in the game from photographs, including the white-tailed deer, jackrabbit, alligator snapping turtle, lake sturgeon, pronghorn, green iguana, American bullfrog, blue jay, and roseate spoonbill. When presented with a multiple-choice quiz on these animals, Red Dead Redemption 2 players got a median score of 10 out of 15 questions, whereas those who had no experience of the game had a median score of 7. The difference was greatest for those animals that are actually useful in-game, such as a fish that can be caught and eaten. Those who had completed the main Red Dead Redemption 2 storyline, which takes around 40 to 60 hours of gameplay, those who had played the game most recently, and those who had taken on a conservationist role in the online version of Red Dead Redemption 2 scored most highly. Players also reported actually learning about animal behavior and ecology through Red Dead Redemption 2. One participant said the game had taught them about how to spot a ram that was about to charge in the wild. Quote, the game features a couple of species that are now much rarer, and one, the Carolina parakeet, that's extinct, says ecologist Matthew Silk from the University of Exeter. Quote, hunting played a role in the Carolina parakeet's extinction. If players shoot this species in the game, they are warned of their endangered status. If they continue shooting, the species becomes extinct, highlighting the environmental consequences of players' actions. Video games are often associated with long hours spent indoors away from nature, but the researchers are keen to emphasize their educational value. Even if the main goal is entertainment, which helps to attract as many gamers as Red Dead Redemption 2 has, people can still be learning while they play. The The team behind the study argues that games are, quote, underexplored and underused as methods of teaching, and that ecologists and conservationists should start taking titles such as Red Dead Redemption 2, a game that sold over 37 million copies to date, more seriously when it comes to increasing awareness about the natural world. With many species currently in a perilous position in terms of future survival and large parts of our planet slowly becoming more inhospitable, video games could be one of the methods used to encourage us to take better care of the world around us. Quote, we know that many gamers value realism, so game producers might be interested to see these findings, but we realize these games aren't designed to be educational, said biologist Ned Crowley from Truro and Penworth College in the UK. Quote, we don't expect big budget games to include messages about conservation, but educators and conservationists can learn from the techniques used in games, such as making things immersive and having each action mean something in terms of a wider progress in the game. And there you have it, guys. That'll do it for our reading, and I just wanted to highlight that it's pretty amazing just the amount of effect that video games can have on the mind of the player. Whether it's an effect on their IQ or, in this case, their EQ, it's pretty amazing to see that games actually do have profound effects on the player. And of course, while I would like more focused and concise research done on these subjects in particular, I think that the results that we've got already speak for themselves. I think the example of the Carolina parakeet is actually one of the strongest examples that we have from this article. Attaching such massively consequential effects to the player's actions can actually go a long way in impressing the lessons that these people are talking about. You're not just teaching people about the endangered status of these animals, but you're actually putting the consequences onto the player and making it real for them in a sense. It's one thing to blame some nameless, faceless bad guy for the extinction of an entire species, and another thing entirely to put that blame squarely on the player. By demonstrating to the player that their actions actually have consequences that can affect the entire world of the game, players are more likely to consider their options and take the playthrough a little more seriously. It's amazing how far just a little bit of contextualization carries the experience, and it takes the player from a point-and-shoot mentality to seriously weighing their actions against the effects on the world. I think there's a lot of potential here for expanding the application of this kind of design. Instead of simply limiting it to ecological consequences, maybe games could explore more philosophical or ethical dilemmas as well. I think some of the best games are the ones that cause you to stop and think about your actions and then give you the freedom to actually make the choice you want to make, whether it's good or bad. In a way, I think that Red Dead Redemption cueing you in to the consequences of your action without pigeonholing you into making the quote-unquote right decision actually goes further than simply forcing a character down a predetermined path. I honestly don't feel like the lesson would be as impactful if these birds were simply marked as unkillable with the same pop-up box whenever you shoot them. Hopefully, in the future, we'll see more developers thinking along these lines and adding that next level of realism to their game experience. But that's going to do it for this video, guys. Thank you so much to everybody who has watched up to this point. If you can, hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the content that I've got coming up for you guys in the future. And also, take to the comment section to let me know what you think about this subject. Do you feel like this is a welcome addition to video games, or do you just want a more run-and-gun, casual type experience? Do you not want to think about the moral or ethical implications of your actions, or do you think that adds to the overall experience? Either way, let me know, and I've got to get back to it, so I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you guys for watching. If you liked the video, leave a like, and until next time, love you guys, safe travels.